Welcome to Oddball, fresh off a long weekend filled with a lot of basketball. I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. How are you doing? Did you have a nice weekend?
I did have a nice weekend, but I hate long weekends because coming back to work is so much harder. I'd rather work every day a little bit than have 4 days off.
Really?
And so imagine how terrified I am of the Western Conference Finals ending tonight. And then we have 8 days before we have any basketball again. It might throw me all the way off.
We are going to get down to MJ versus LeBron levels by the time the finals start. I would love a 3-day weekend every week. So I don't know that I can relate with you, but
We kind of do. This show's only on Tuesday through Friday, so.
Yeah, but we do stuff Monday and we do other stuff.
No, we don't. Everything is live. Everything is happening right now, Tuesday afternoon.
Well, it is now.
Sure. Sure it is.
I look terrified. I'm in a good mood. I'm very happy for basketball reasons.
Why is that?
Can you just do it? Can you tell people what happened?
Hey, the Boston Celtics are going to the NBA Finals, everybody. They completed the sweep of the Indiana Pacers after, another nail biter there. Charlotte, how do you feel seeing your boys get the job done?
First of all, I don't appreciate your tone, but I appreciate your asking me. I mean, look, I don't think I realized how broken I was by last year's Eastern Conference Finals until last night. You know how I've been saying, like, I've felt this anxiety or I've felt this, like, why isn't this more fun? What is happening? Last night, I had so much fun. I was, like, getting emotional watching them get that Eastern Conference Finals trophy. Jason Tatum, they were, like... Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Al Horford, they were all sort of happy and their kids were there. And I was like, and they loved Joe Mazzulla. And I just I felt healed in that moment.
Buddy
I felt
healed?
like...
He plays for the Sixers now. He's no longer in Indiana.
Yeah, I didn't feel Buddy healed. I felt Charlotte healed. I felt like I had this void inside me that I didn't realize was still so deep. And they swept the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'm feeling really, really good.
Permission to crush your hopes and dreams.
I mean, yeah, why not? What else are you going to do?
Okay. Isn't there a little bit of you that is low-key terrified that they struggled to beat an Indiana Pacers team with no Tyrese Haliburton 2 games in a row? Like, it came down to the wire, and they were just praying that Indiana would fuck up. Pretty much, in order for them to achieve their goal. Yeah, there's no part of that like that makes you go something like almost like you ever had milk that the date says expiry date was yesterday, and you smell it and you're like, it smells fine, but then you start sipping and like, did I detect a hint of? Is that not a feeling that you're having?
No, Amin, because the milk tasted very good despite whatever it said on the carton. And listen, sure. Did it look a little dicey there at times in games 1, 3, and 4? Yes, it did. Did they win? Yes, they did. Did Boston's defense come through? Did Drew Holiday get amazing defensive stops? Yes, he did. And you know what? That's really all that I can ask for. So, am I terrified about facing, let's be honest, the Dallas Mavericks? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not going to tell everyone. I'm not going to tell them right now because we have 8 days we're going to have to fill. So everyone can guess whether I'm worried or not. But but today, I feel amazing. You're not going to bring me down.
Sure thing. Just for context's sake, that milk was bought from a gas station. All right. Jaylen Brown won Eastern Conference MVP, the Larry Bird Trophy. He averaged nearly 30 points, 5 rebounds, 3 dimes, and 2 rips per game. Put up 40 in Game 2, and he said this after winning the award, Charlotte.
Were you expecting it? Like, what was your feeling when you heard your name called?
I wasn't expecting that at all. You know, I don't never win so I was just happy that we won.
Okay, so I have something to say about this, but first, Cedric Maxwell, Celtics Finals MVP, gave Jaylen Brown this trophy, and they presented it, and Lisa Salter said, and now, to present the Larry Bird Trophy, I was like, say Larry Bird because they were in Indiana. I was like, they're going to say the Larry Bird trophy, Larry Bird. I thought that would be funny. But I also, when Jaylen Brown said this, I took it as like not that serious. I took it as like, yeah, I'm the kind of person who never wins anything. You know how people say that? They're like, oh yeah, I've never won a raffle or whatever.
I know exactly how people say that. My kids say that stuff, and it drives me nuts because I always say, what were you supposed to win that you haven't won yet? Right? Let's go through your long list of missed accolades, right? Jaylen Brown, yes, should have been All NBA this year. Absolutely. I'm with you on this. Deserved to win this trophy. Absolutely. But it's like, well, I never win anything. I didn't expect anything because I never win. Oh, shut up. Shut up. Just say it's an honor. Keep it moving. I was happy that we won, to be honest with you, but it's an honor to be recognized. I never win anything. Shucks. And then he kicked the can down the road after that.
Listen, the Celtics team has become absolute masters at being like, oh, we're not a super team. We didn't get coach of the year.
You call that
we
masters?
Didn't get... Yeah, they've become very good at being like, we never win anything. So maybe they have a bet we don't know about with each other where they're like, how many times can we say we've never won anything to the media? I'm glad Jaylen Brown got this. I think he deserved it. Even though Tatum had more impressive stats along all 4 games. I think Jaylen Brown's 40-point performance, and then I feel like he came through in very big moments for them. I'm happy for Jaylen. Also, Amin, Joe Mazzulla is the youngest head coach to reach the NBA Finals since Bill Russell in 1969. He's 35 years old. We are the same age, and when I think about Joe Mazzulla, when I watch him on the sidelines, to put it in perspective for myself, I think like, oh, this is just like a weirdo I could have been sitting next to in math class. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, because
struggling, copying off each other, not doing well either way.
Okay, well, why'd you have to go there? I mean, I feel like he would be good at math.
Yes, I could see how Joe Mazzulla's good at math.
Anyway, why, is he not labeled a prodigy? From my perspective, he's been in the right place at the right time. But what is the narrative around Joe Mazzulla?
That's why. That's why he's not a prodigy. He's in the right place at the right time. He was gifted a team that had been to the conference finals. What is that? 4 out of 6 years had just come from the finals trip. Of course, success. It's one of the weirdest places. Like, of course, it's supposed to be successful. The only way it's not successful is if you mess it all up, and he didn't mess it up. And so I think Joe Mazzulla, I thought he should have been in the running for Coach of the Year. I was shocked that he didn't even appear in the top 5 of the ballot. I think that what he's done in terms of his guys past his starters and Al Horford, guys 7, 8, 9 on that roster, making them be productive members of society for at least 2 rounds of basketball. Like, I thought that was very impressive. But, like, I always get the vibe that, like the players love him, like, they love him like he's like their weird older brother. Like the guy that like buys them the beer, but then hangs out with them and their friends while they drink the beer. It's like, wait a second, you're just a conduit. You weren't meant to hang out too. So, but
you have to decide like how badly you want the beer because it means that the guy's going to keep hanging around. It's like, that there's a price to pay for this beer.
Yep. And the other part of that also is, I've talked about this months ago on the Batard show, but when you are eccentric the way Joe Mazzulla is eccentric, if you win, everything is cool, man. Hell, if you win the ultimate thing, people might start to copy you. But if you falter, they are going to come for your ass a lot harder than they would if you were just a regular dude that failed.
Right.
That eccentricity comes with a price.
Yes, and that price is that you are not given many, I don't want to say second chances, but people are like, oh yeah, he was weird and it didn't work. I think what would be the funniest possible outcome, as you said, people copy him. It reminds me of when like Sean McVay was named the head coach of the Rams when he was 33 years old, and then anyone who was like a decent looking guy who'd shaken hands with Sean McVay and was young got hired to be the head coach.
Young, handsome coaches. That was the winning formula. Yeah.
That was what would get you to a Super Bowl. I think it would be very funny if the Celtics win the finals and all of a sudden they're like, get me anybody wearing a shirt that says God, coffee, and jiu-jitsu. I want him as our head coach. I would love it if we had a resurgence of weirdos.
That's a real shirt he wore post-game. We were there. We saw it.
Yeah.
God, coffee, jiu-jitsu. When asked why he was wearing it, he said, because I love God, I love coffee, and I love jiu-jitsu. That was his answer.
And you know what else he said to me?
What's that?
He said, "Oh, I had this made."
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was a custom job.
Yeah.
Custom job. All right, let's before we move on and talk about the West, let's look back on the Pacers season. They went 47-35. They were a 6th seed. They made the finals of the inaugural in-season tournament. Who can forget that? Tyrese Haliburton captured the hearts and minds of everybody early in the season. He was an all-star, and then everything kind of fell apart because he had to keep playing despite being hurt. Charlotte, the question is, are they just getting started, or was this all a mirage? You know, I have my theories.
Yeah, so I think what I'll say is it's very sort of, I don't know, full circle that we're sitting here talking about them and they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals because in December, I mean, you and I were talking about this team saying like, I really hope they play the Celtics. That would be a fun matchup. Like this team is exciting, that in-season
And it was,
tournament.
by the way.
It
was
was.
a
It was.
fun matchup, yeah.
It was. It was very fun. And you and I were talking about, look, the in-season tournament, people fell in love with it, but at first they were clowning on it. And it was like, you know what? This does give a slight feeling of playoff experience. Nothing near what it's actually like, but there's a pomp and circumstance to it that perhaps did help them. We don't know. But the main thing is that Tyrese Haliburton, as you said, got hurt. And to me, this next year is going to be most interesting. If he stays healthy, what is he able to do? Because I think we were robbed of some of the electricity this team could have had because of the injuries you talked about.
If they're healthy, they're a better team than what they showed. And not just in this series, I mean, throughout the regular season as well. The second half of the year was marred by the Haliburton injury. And then remember, him and Siakam didn't get to play a whole lot together because Siakam got hurt at one point. No, I think it's kind of both ways. One is like this team is probably going to be better if they just return everybody and everybody's healthy. Remember, Benedict Mathurin, who was in the running for Sixth Man of the Year, didn't play a second of these playoffs. So there is, if you're Indiana, you could say, oh, no, we're doing good. We just got to grow. But I think they're still missing an honest-to-God, in-my-sleep scorer. They need someone who, hey, I don't care if I'm 0 for 17. I'm not going to be shy about shots 18 through 20 or through 25 or whatever. So they still are. I think that's going to be a priority. Now, whether that's someone they acquire by a free agency or by a trade remains to be seen. Also, they got to keep Pascal Siakam, who's going to be a free agent as well. That's also on the to-do list.
Right. The future, I think the future's bright, though. I don't think this was a mirage, so I'm excited to see what they do. But right now, we have to talk about the Mavs and the Timberwolves because the Mavs are up 3-0. Game 4 is tonight at 8:30 p.m. in Dallas. Luka and Kyrie have been absolutely dominating together. They seem to be able to score at will versus what is, people forget, the number one defense in the NBA and the Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, from Minnesota. How do you feel about this most talented backcourt in history conversation that our good friend Stan Van Gundy kicked off? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, first of all, you got to look at how many caveats are in that statement, right? Like the most talented, not best, offensive backcourt in history, right? He clarifies, he says offensive. He doesn't say overall. So that automatically kind of chops it up and puts it through like 7 different lenses like this, and you're trying to look all the way through, all right?
A kaleidoscope of a take.
Yes. But it is a kaleidoscope of a take given by someone who is not known for being boisterous or prisoner of the moment or saying outlandish statements, Stan Van Gundy. And so you take that into account as well, and you start to think and you say, whether the answer is yes or no, I think we can all agree it's not an outrageous question, right?
No.
You know, Kyrie Irving was well on his way to become a Hall of Famer before he played for Dallas. Luka Doncic, through the first 5 years of his career, he looked very much like a Hall of Famer as well to be. So for both these guys who are in their relative primes to be playing together in the same backcourt, yeah, like that's not, yes, of course they look incredible. And yes, the combination of their skill level and their understanding of the game, this isn't an outrageous question at all.
Yes, I think something that is making people on the basketball internet at least talk about this is Draymond Green, who has been on Inside the NBA after the games for TNT, said, "Well, that's garbage. It's obviously Steph and Clay." And this is so interesting. I mean, obviously he plays with them; those are his guys. But there was something. The way he said it, and Draymond's delivery, and the fact that so many of the things he says are coming from a personal place, seems to me he can have a really good take. Like, that's not necessarily a bad take, right? Like, Steph and Clay are also very good, but these are the sorts of takes, and we'll get back to Draymond in a second, that are sort of tailored to a more broad basketball audience. It's like Anthony Edwards saying he went from Michael Jordan comparisons to Jordan Poole comparisons. It's this broader frame of reference. Nice. Look at that picture. They were mashing up Ant's face with Michael Jordan, and now they're doing it with Jordan Poole. It does not look as much like Jordan Poole as he does Michael Jordan. I don't think Jordan Poole is his dad. But, it's like an interesting shift too in how we talk about this in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, first of all, Draymond's answer is not outrageous either, to say Steph and Clay are the most talented offensive backcourt of all time. Just because he said it and he has an implicit bias doesn't mean he's incorrect. But, the other part of it is, like you said, him saying, that's trash. Like, that's the part where, well, Stan's opinion isn't trash. You might disagree with it. You might even disagree with it vehemently, but I think it's a fair question.
Totally. Definitely fair question. Another fair question, who's to blame for this Timberwolves collapse? Because I've been watching this and I can't quite wrap my head around what is going on. Is it that they're tired, that, they came off this crazy game 7, they beat the Nuggets, they've been doing this for a while. But I can't quite figure out, why is this team that looked so good against the defending champs just falling apart in the last minutes of these 3 games?
Oh, is it because they haven't been here before and reality is slapping them in the face? Yeah, man, like, I don't understand. This is what Vinny Goodwill, our good friend from Yahoo Sports, was talking about when he asked that question. The notion that you have to fail and fail on a big stage in a big moment. Not the first round, not the play-in, the little baby play-in, the real stuff where the whole world is just watching you. And They mocked him and ridiculed him. Well, we already did that. We lost in the first round. How many times do you want us to lose? Like, this is the heartbreak he was talking about, where you show up and you think you've done it. You think you have it all what it takes. You think you've got the highest gear. And then you see someone else and they got a higher gear. Like, I didn't even know it went up that high. I thought it only went up to 10. They're going up to 11. So, yeah, this is exactly what we're talking about. As far as conditioning, like, maybe Kevin Garnett was talking about it on All the Smoke, where it's like, he talked about his own experience in 2004, thinking he had enough, and then realizing, I'm nowhere near enough, like, to beat the Lakers in the conference finals, who then ended up losing in the finals anyway. So I think it's a little mixture of everything. It's like you're not ready from an experience standpoint. You're not ready from a physical standpoint. And you haven't really gotten that moment of like, damn, this is what it feels like to have that real heartbreak. Not the heartbreak of my season's over, but like, we actually had a chance to win this whole thing, and we blew it.
Yes. I thought of Vinny immediately when they lost game 3 the other night, because I was like, oh man, this is what he meant. And I think that this is what he meant. And it's funny that Kat and Ant looked at him and said, what? Like, how much more losing do you want us to do? And it's like, it's not how much more, it's what kind. Mm-hmm. And I think that going this deep was maybe not part of the plan in the beginning of the year. I think people were surprised to see the Timberwolves be so good consistently, and then all of a sudden they're in the Western Conference Finals. I mean, you gave Kat the benefit of the doubt on bully ball with Rachel Nichols and DeMarcus Cousins. Let's roll that.
I'm gonna be the voice of positivity. I think what he was trying to say is, I shoot a lot. You know, like sometimes, he's called me 100 times. They didn't really call you 100 times. They may have called you 7 times. But we're trying to exaggerate and say, I do it a lot. But, Draymond, he just he jumped on that, and that was it after that.
what made you stand up for him? The cat said he took 1,500 shots, or so he had some number.
Because I've been there. Everyone, I think, has been there where you say a number that's supposed to be a big number to exaggerate, accentuate the idea that, like, yo, yeah, I've done it a lot. It's happened a lot. This is occurring a lot. Mm-hmm. And people, well, actually, I did the calculations. I mean, I did the 20 seconds. Like, no, it's not about did he shoot 200 shots or 300 shots or whatever. The idea is what he's saying is like, I'm staying and I'm shooting after practice. I'm shooting on my off days. I'm shooting on game day. I'm getting the shots up. I'm getting my reps in. The shot's not falling for whatever reason. And I think that's what he's trying to say. Yeah.
Is that also why you say that instead of saying how old Al Horford actually is, you say he's 1,000,000 years old?
He's 1,000,000 years old. I say that all the time because I know if I say he's 55 years old, actually he's 37 and a half. He turned 38. Shut up. No one's out here with a birth certificate. We're just trying to say the guy's old. Can we agree he's old? Okay. Why does it matter what his actual specific age is? So you got to say 1,000,000 years old. And that way people know. Thankfully, we're not at that place yet. The internet is hurtling towards that, though. Actually, 1,000,000 years ago, we placed him somewhere in the Mesozoic era. Oh, shut up, nerd.
This is Life Hacks from Amin Elhassan. Stick around because in B Block, we will be paying tribute to the wonderful Bill Walton, who passed away recently. We'll see you soon.
Oh, I'm kidding.
That was the late, great Bill Walton, the Hall of Famer who passed away on Monday after a prolonged battle with cancer. And I mean, I can't think of a better video to describe who this man was. That's what I think of when I think of Bill Walton. He was funny. He was silly. His joy for life. I mean, he was a bright light. He literally ate a candle, and he wasn't afraid to be silly in an industry where most people take themselves far too seriously. He also had an unbelievable career on the court. He had an 86-4 record at UCLA. He was a two-time NBA champ, one in 1977 with Portland, one in 1986 with Boston. He was the 1977 Finals MVP, 1978 MVP, 1986 Sixth Man of the Year. He was on the NBA's top 50 and top 75. I mean, this man was amazing, and you knew him personally.
Yeah, he crossed paths with people a lot, and he was always kind and generous with his time. And when I say that, I mean I never had a conversation with him that lasted shorter than 20 minutes. He was always there. He had a lot of great insights and advice and meaningful things to say. It wasn't just small talk. This is a guy who cared deeply about people and cared about the game. It's a lot of things that he did in his career that I think now we see as commonplace, not so much in terms of protesting the war. He sat out in protest from the Blazers because he felt like they were mismanaging his injuries and the injuries of his teammates, and ended up leaving as a free agent a year later. I remember I did a watch along of the college football national championship game with some other ESPN personalities, and he was there dressed like Uncle Sam, and he went on ESPN airwaves, national TV, and said President Obama needs to legalize marijuana and free all people who are imprisoned due to marijuana-related charges. And this was at a time before legalization of marijuana was as commonplace as it is now. So for him to do that on national TV, on ESPN, it's owned by Disney, that was a really big deal. But he was always a guy that cared about what was right.
Definitely. He went to Stanford Law while he was in the NBA, while he was on the Clippers. He almost retired to go to law school full time, and maybe, this headline, Walton's future on court or in court. He's someone who I think I'm really sad I never got to meet him, but I feel like I know him through stories like this. I mean,
yeah, no, he was the best. I mentioned it right there. He got arrested in college for protesting the Vietnam War. A man who marched to the beat of his own drum, I guess I would say.
Well, you know what? Let's let him have the last word here.
I'm the luckiest dude in the world, man. My goal in life is to be better, to do better, and to do more.
That was him on the Levitard show last June. Thank you to Bill Walton, and thank all of you for watching Oddball. We'll see you tomorrow.
Say, oh, I'm kidding. I can't.